Good afternoon and welcome to the Soap. Halifax's second visit here in 5 weeks. Disappointment and controversy on the last visit, losing in the Challenge Cup Silk Cup. Dio Powell denied a try that might have sealed Halifax that game. Some questionable refereeing from Steve Presley, and not surprisingly he's not being picked for this fixture this afternoon. Referee Russell Smith from Castleford. London Broncos without Nick Marden and Damien Chapman line up with Bucks Fatnauner at fullback. Matt Toshack, John Timu, Chris Ryan and Martin are fired at the 3/4, edging toward the third top try scorer in rugby league. Luke Goodwin, new signing from Oldham partners Tulson Tollett, who's only been registered back from the Harlequins this week at half-back. Grant Young, Robbie Beasley, Mark Carroll, the front row. Peter Gill, Darren Higgins, Terry Mattison, the back three. Matt Dunford, Steele Retzless, Matt Salter and Adi Spencer. The London Broncos team. Halifax giving away an early penalty. And their team this afternoon, Martin Pearson favoured at fullback for Eti Tuilangi, making his 60th appearance for the Blue Sox. Damien Gibson inside him, Dave Bouveng and Dio Powell the other 3/4. Chris Chester and Glavin Clinch are the halfbacks. They went home from that cup fixture nursing headaches. Gill and Mattison were warned after that match about their behaviour, but that's as far as it went. Carl Harrison, Paul Rowlett and Kelvin Skerritt, who signed up for Halifax till the end of the season. Gary Mercer, Simon Baldwin, Martin Moana are the forwards for Halifax. Carl Gillespie, Kieran O'Loughlin, who's only just signed for Halifax this week, have completed his move from St Helens and on the bench with Richard Marshall and Des Clark. Broncos using their first set of 6 tackles to take them within 22 metres of the Halifax line, and the last tackle, Tollett over the top. The Broncos with the wind at the back. Tuilangi takes it cleanly behind the line. He had pressure on him from Afire and Ryan, and Tuilangi will take the first drive up for Halifax into the tackle of Robbie Beasley and Grant Young. Beasley had out for this match last week after injuring his knee in the Challenge Cup semi-final defeat against Wigan at the McAlpine Stadium, where the London Broncos were very disappointing and were opened up virtually at random, sometimes by a rampant Wigan outfit. Martin Moana tried to open the Broncos up then. Mattison round the ankles. Gary Mercer, who's shown up well for Halifax in his 3 competitive games and a handful of friendlies pre-season. And Gavin Clinch with one down on the floor, but the long grass will hold it up, and it could turn out to be a fairly smart kick, could that, from Gavin Clinch, as Fatnauner is chased by Gibson and Chester. Now Martin Afire doing some of the work up the middle, taking it forward in attack. Broncos moving it out wide. Back inside, Broncos over the 20 metre with Mark Carroll, who came here to these shores as long ago as 1980. Great ball inside to Fatnauner. Russell Smith blowing the whistle again. Gavin Clinch asking for clarification of that decision. And the decision is another penalty to the London Broncos. Halifax players and staff alike justifiably complaining to the Rugby League after that Challenge Cup tie, but it didn't change the result. And John Pendlebury expects his side to put up a better show this afternoon. Well, 2 penalties conceded in the first 3 minutes is not helping Halifax's cause. And London Broncos last week against Wigan looked like a team that was still trying to find their feet, as Mark Carroll loses it, but Halifax give away another penalty. The ball reaped out, and the ball quickly played. So a nervous start for Halifax as they concede 3 penalties in 3 minutes, and the Broncos have men over on that far side. Ball comes back inside to Darren Higgins, who's replaced Steele Retzels in the second row. Retzels on the bench this afternoon. Halifax needing to be sharp in defence, a slow play the ball. has helped Halifax's cause, but for how long? Tulson Tollett chips through on the floor. Pearson will pick it up behind his own line and make it safe. And Mattison will continue the tackle, not allowing Pearson to get up. Well, these were the tactics used by the Broncos last week, and Mattison doing it again there, slowing down the play of the ball as Gibson comes forward. Gavin Clint out to Moana. Moana stepping inside, looking for support. Had Baldwin on his shoulder, couldn't get the pass away. Now Kelvin Skerry opted to play in the number 4 jersey this season. It was vacant. Now Mercer. And Tollett putting his body on the line. Mercer trying to get up and play it. But Mercer being interfered with by Mark Carroll. Last tackle, says Russell Smith. Pearson gets the kick away, and that an indication of the strength of the wind as it comes back towards the halfway line from Pearson's kick. Broncos taking advantage of the wind at the back in the first half, and it was a fairly strong wind. And this one will form just inside the Broncos half of the field. Tullett playing at scrum half. I'm not sure what's wrong with Marden and Chapman. But Ryan trying to carve an opening, gets over halfway. Gibson holding down a little bit while Russell Smith's letting it ride, and they're holding down. Tullett long ball out. Luke Goodwin, a star for Oldham last season. Broncos tried to register him unsuccessfully for the Challenge Cup tie, but he's been in the programme as the missing piece in Tony Curry's jigsaw of this Broncos side. Tollett gets it away. Goodwin again, bringing on Higgins. Who's linking up well on the run is Higgins. Goodwin again involved. Kick through. Pearson picks it up and fires onto him. Good one, took one after the ball had gone. To Ilanga. He'll bring it up out of defence. Get over the 10-metre line. Halifax playing it quickly. Dio Powell. Halifax with Tuilanga and Powell have two big wingers, but Powell's knocked on. So Halifax playing the most of the first 6 minutes in their own half of the field and in defence. Mattison up from the back of the scrum, goes on his own. And the Broncos 22 metres away again from that Halifax line. Grant Young. Massive frame, 6'5", size 17 boots, Grant Young. Signed from Auckland. Man of the series against Great Britain in 1997. Broncos relying on the pack, but Tolson with some little touches. Fatnauna came onto that one never on really. Bouncing off his chest. And the ball comes back for the scrum 15 metres out from the Blue Sox line. Looking to improve on a league position of 7th last season. Broncos finished runners up to the Bulls, but the whole new structure of the Super League means a grand final and a playoff, Australian style, with the top 5 teams at the end of the season. Bouveng comes up, but he's not getting through those big Broncos forwards. Skerritt's going to have a go, but they're up quickly to meet him. Skerritt slips away from 2. We still had Beasley round him. Gavin Clint, who's being watched very carefully by Grant Young. Last tackle again, back to Baldwin, who launches one down behind Fatnauna, but that one holding up easily enough for the Broncos fullback. And he doesn't have many options there, with a wall of blue shirts in front of him as he turned round. Matt Toshack on the far side. Tollett. Goodwin turns it back inside to Gill, who's playing in the second row with Darren Higgins, 34-year-old. He's been in the Rugby League coach's dream team for the last 2 seasons as Peter Gill. Beasley up from acting half. Some good penetration there from the Broncos hooker. Now Matteson to Tollett. Tollett will go for the gap. Great Britain international Tulsin Tollett. Being born in Brighton. Goodwin kicks through. Chase on with Pearson, and Pearson just manages to get it dead. So the pressure not off for Halifax, as they will be forced to drop out under the post. Goodwin showing his paces there. And I'm not sure whether Martin Pearson realised just how close the Broncos standoff was to getting that ball. Pearson will restart with the dropout, keeping it low. Having seen how much the ball came back from his kick out of the hand earlier on. Mark Carroll showing some handling skills. Tollett trying to go underneath Harrison, unsuccessfully. The Broncos pushing again at that Halifax line. Matteson to Goodwin, and Goodwin on to Chris Ryan. And the Broncos back in the Halifax 20 again. And here comes Mark Carroll, charging run, taking a perfect pass. Chance here for Broncos if they can use that far side. Goodwin hammered to the ground. Ball went backwards. Russell Smith will probably give the Halifax knock on there, and the Broncos will get position again. Halifax haven't been able to string six passes together yet, and the most they've felt of the football this afternoon is in the warm-up before the game so far. Everything going the Broncos' way. Ball coming straight out there, says Russell Smith. So unlucky touch there as the ball was knocked out under the impact of the tackle. Matteson has Tollett outside him. Halifax saw that move the last scrum. Now it's number 8 Grant Young, who's launching himself towards the Halifax line. Chances here. Caught up in the middle again is Darren Higgins. Halifax quick out of the blocks in defence. The Broncos still within 10 metres at Halifax line. Tollett out to Goodwin. Goodwin goes on his own, then brings in a fire, who's put to ground by the tackle from Mercer. Halifax are all bunched up at the play of the ball as Mark Carroll's brought down 2 metres out. Last tackle, Goodwin chipping through, and it came off a Halifax player, but it rebounded kindly. An injury there, and it looks like it may be Gavin Clincy who's gone down. Well, Gavin Clincy already had to leave this ground once. This time it's a leg injury. On the last occasion, he left with a head injury, as did Chris Chester. The Blue Sox unable to show what they're capable of in the opening 12 minutes, because it's been Broncos all the way so far. But Halifax have given 3 penalties away, and they've smartened their act up, because those 3 penalties came in the first 3 minutes. And now Dio Powell, it's away to Bouveng. And Halifax will get the first penalty, much to the jubilation of the Halifax supporters. We've travelled down here to the Stoop this afternoon. I don't think there's just as many as there were 5 weeks ago in that Challenge Cup game. Harrison, first runner, making 10. Now Skerritt, but wasn't running really effectively enough to make the break. And Halifax may have problems as Mercer gets it away to Pearson. Halifax may have problems with the wind and judging the pass, but there goes Baldwin up to halfway. Wants to get up and play it quickly, and that should be a sin-binning offence. Russell Smith not reaching for the pocket, but no doubt that Baldwin was interfered with as he tried to play the ball. The offence was actually committed twice. So really, Russell Smith has let the slowing down at the play of the ball go on for long enough. Gavin Clinch turns it back inside to Harrison. First time for Halifax in that Broncos half of the field with the possession. Of course, they've got to keep hold of it. Moana has support from Tuilangi, who pulls it in one-handed. It doesn't make any impact against the Broncos defence. Clinch to Skerritt. Skerritt tries to make an impact. Halifax using that left-hand side. Gavin Clinch. Good ball out wide for the crunching tackle. Russell Smith. The whistle has gone. The tackle's on Dio Powell. It was a huge hit against the Halifax player. Well, it's indicated a spear tackle as Russell Smith. Hard to see from here, but it'll give Halifax 6 more. And Rowley, a try score here on his last visit. He's brought down 5 metres away. Gavin Clinch will have Harrison on his shoulder, but uses Mercer. 2 men out to meet Mercer very quickly. Rowley to Dio Powell, 10 metres out under the Broncos post. And Halifax could look to capitalise had they gone left. But here comes Skerritt, and Skerritt with his, well, could have been his first try for Halifax. Wants to get up and play it quickly, but Fatnauna insisting on slowing the play down. Clinch gets the ball away. Halifax keep it alive. Gavin Clinch seeing the gap, dives over. First try in the Blue Sox colours for Gavin Clinch, involved twice in the move. Well, Skerritt almost went over, but Halifax with the first chance to score showed the skills near that Broncos line, and Gavin Clinch comes up with a 4-pointer for Halifax after 16 minutes, first score of the game. And the Blue Sox lead at 4 points to 0. Well, Halifax have defended stoutly against the onslaught of the Broncos in their half for the first 13-14 minutes of this game. And the first time Halifax get near the Broncos line, they make the pressure pay, and Clinch with the first 4-pointer for the Blue Sox, the first score of Super League 3 for the man from St George. And Pearson kicking against the wind should make it 6. And no problem for Martin Pearson.
London Broncos 0, Halifax Blue Sox 6.
First opportunity that Halifax have, turn it into points. And Pearson waits for a replacement ball. And now he's got another one. Quite happy with the one he's got. To get play underway again. Well, he's found the distance this time. The wind holding it up a little bit. Matteson underneath it. Inside to Grant Young, who gets back to the 20 with a strong charge for the Broncos. Rowlett and Moana with the tacklers, and Broncos look immediately to move it out wide. And a fire brought back on the inside, and a fire's got away from one. Chester's chasing him, Pearson's there, but Pearson around the ankles. Well, Martin Afire has done more in the opening 19 minutes of this game than he did in the full 80 minutes in the Challenge Cup. Gill loses it. Halifax will get possession. And Clinch calms it down, Tullett in an offside position. Now Marshall, who's come on to replace Kelvin Skerritt, who went so close to Halifax's first try. Gary Mercer running strongly. Higgins making the initial tackle. Now to Ilange. 2 tries this season. Away to Rowley on halfway. And Mark Carroll just keeping the hand on Rowley to make sure he don't play quickly. Harrison tries to roll out of the tackle. Gets over halfway. Well, Russell Smith is signalling back 10 metres, but the Broncos certainly struggling to make that 10-metre mark. And Fat Nauner's under pressure as he picks the ball up. Great chase from the Halifax left wing centre combination on that side. But now Halifax need to put pressure on the Broncos under their own post. And they've certainly done that with the first 2 tackles. And there's 5 or 6 Broncos players who are still coming back into position as Tulson Tollett's nailed 11 metres out under the post. And a few complaints from the Broncos supporters that there was a flop in there. Grant Young looks for support, nobody there at the back of him. Had every opportunity to get the ball away, but no support. Matterson. Good pressure on that far side. Broncos forced into touch. It's Powell and Bouveng doing the work in defence on that far side. You wouldn't expect Terry Matterson to put any of his players in danger, especially close to the touchline. A little bit of panic perhaps. Halifax leading 6-0 after 21 minutes. And with another set of 6 from this scrum, Bitzer will win with head and feed. And Powell almost being put into touch on that far side. But here come Halifax again, and they're making good yards toward that Broncos line. And again, play slowed down, this time on Marshall. Clinch, Baldwin on the inside. The gap closed up by the Broncos defence. Ball played quickly. Clinch this time to Mercer. Mercer taking a novel way, trying to go underneath. We've had a lot of rain over the weekend in London. Moana to Pearson. Move on here for Halifax. Bouveng brought down on the 10. Last tackle. Moana just for the power play. Harrison. Jinkin gets it away. Wild pass. Well, play still on here for Halifax. Gibson back inside to Tuilagi, then back to Gibson. Gibson needs support, he's got it from Rowley. It's bounced awkwardly, Moana picks it up. Then back to Rowley, 6 more to Halifax. But I don't think the Halifax players had seen that in the action that was taking place. Marshall held it up, I think Mercer called for it. Rowley to Tuilagi coming from nowhere. Rowley, Clinch turns it back inside to Moana. Moana with the strength and the power, gets the ball down. Second try for Halifax. Well, it looked as one point as Halifax hadn't seen the last tackle. Tuilagi came in from nowhere and lost his footing. Just this ground looking perfect on top, but a little bit soft underneath with all that rain. And Moana again showing the power and the strength to force his way over despite the attention of 2 London Broncos tacklers for Halifax's second try, and an increase in the lead to 10-0. And the kick should be a formality for Pearson. Already had a go once from this range. And you would expect an 80-year-old man with a pair of slippers to kick this one. But it's against the wind. But no problem for Martin Pearson as the Halifax lead stretches even further to 12-0.
Next try was scored by number 13, Martin Moana.
So, the start that Halifax wanted, they kept the Broncos out and then put pressure on, and that pressure paid dividends with Halifax's second try and a second conversion from Pearson. But Tollett bringing it away with purpose for the Broncos. Now the Broncos trying to move it out wide. Goodwin was wrapped up by Chester and Mercer 12 metres from halfway. Fatnauna moves into that acting half-back position and then comes up, wants to go on his own. Thought about the pass to O'Fire, but he made good ground. That looked forward from here. Play continues. Beasley makes 8 metres into the Halifax half. Tollett to Goodwin. Goodwin has Gill on his shoulder, but Gill taken down easy by awaiting Halifax defenders. Last tackle. Goodwin drops one over the top, wasting possession, giving it to Dio Powell. And Tollett and Ryan moving in on Dio Powell. Damien Gibson will have to run it back this time for Halifax because the forwards are still coming back for the Blue Sox. Pearson tries to step inside, but the Broncos offside. Tough start to the season for the Blue Sox because we face Wigan, Bradford and Warrington in the first 5 weeks. And a win today away in the capital will do a lot for morale, and also to avenge that Challenge Cup defeat. Harrison away to Baldwin, and Baldwin just over halfway. Moana moves into that half position, and Harrison there again, a willing runner for the Blue Sox and almost away. Gill did well to hang on, easily got there as well. Chester stepping inside. Good tackle by Goodwin. Opposite number. Clinch. Another one on the floor to put Fatnauna under pressure. Tuilangi there behind him. Ball comes up loose. Gavin Clinch in for his second try. Well, Fatnauna had been put at full-back, and he's normally a winger. And Tony Kerry taking the risk of putting him at full-back, but I don't think he'll be there much longer, as Gavin Clinch extends Halifax's lead. Well, there were three Halifax men there that could have scored that one. But Gavin Clinch helps himself to his second try.
Gavin Clinch.
And it took Halifax 16 minutes to get into the stride. It's 3 tries in 12 minutes for the Blue Sox. A little more difficult this one for Pearson. And if Halifax are scoring the tries, Pearson will not have too many worries as to where the conversion is. But even at that angle, the result the same. And from defence in the first 13, Halifax have turned it into attack in the last 15. And 3 tries and 3 conversions, and the Broncos have barely been out of their half for the last 15 minutes. Goodwin still putting on the moves, bringing Ryan on the inside. Harrison and Mercer, the tackling wall waiting for him. Higgins. Gibson keeping hold, and Tuilangi finishing the job off for the Blue Sox defence. Tullett going on his own. There's lots of shouting from Pearson and Clinch on Halifax's behalf. Standing behind the attacking line, or the defending line. 5th tackle, Broncos haven't even got out of their own half. Crossfield kick. Pearson will have to go back to recover it, but he has 3 men following him. Steele Rexless is one who's just come on. And a fire is another, along with Chris Ryan. Pearson bringing it back 10 metres away from the Blue Sox line. Tuilangi almost teasing the Broncos defence into the tackle there. Mercer up to the 20. Dragging Retzless and Gill with him. Harrison. And Carl Harrison is managing to step out of the tackle, the first tackle, and if he could keep his feet, that's all they're doing is knocking him off balance. Dio Powell, great ball. Here goes Booving. Booving has pace. Nobody's going to catch him. He has support. And they managed to get back. Good chasing from Goodwin and Matt Toshak. But Halifax looking to capitalise. Baldwin tried to get the pass away. Came off a Broncos player. Nothing coming from the in-goal touch judge. Complaints from one of the Broncos team members, Russell Smith. As he denied Halifax a fourth try. He's gone to the in-goal touch judge, and the in-goal touch judge didn't seem to give any decision. There's a yellow card for Peter Gill, who'll go to the sin bin for 10 minutes. But did Baldwin get the try? If he didn't, Halifax have got the penalty. There's a touch judge on that far side, stood in position. Well, Halifax will get another penalty. So perhaps it won't be too long before there is another try. And Marshall almost over for the Blue Sox. Harrison letting that one go behind him. Pops it up. Baldwin will have another go here. Has support from Mercer. Now it'll be a fourth try for Halifax with Gary Mercer. Well, Carl Harrison had overrun the ball and he managed to pop it up to Baldwin. And Baldwin looks as though he's going to go over on his own. Turn round, Mercer on the shoulder. Halifax, fourth try. Another extension to the lead after 31 minutes. And the Blue Sox running at the Stoke, leading 22 points to nil. Four tries in 16 minutes. This possibly Martin Pearson's fourth conversion. And it is no problem for Martin Pearson.
Number 7, Martin Pearson. London Broncos 0, Halifax Blue Sox 24.
8 minutes to half time, and when you consider that Halifax have been playing against the wind and playing with the sun in their eyes, 24-0 scoreline is a more than respectable figure to take into the dressing room at half time if it stays that way. And Fat Nowner still not looking confident at fullback, almost losing that one. Well, Halifax have made the change. A fire comes back on the inside. Chester moving across, and no room for a fire. And Des Clark on for Gary Mercer. Chester again, second tackle, 5 metres from halfway on Robbie Beasley. Now Matteson, who hasn't been involved so much in this first half, and perhaps that may be the Broncos failing. Tullott's been involved, but he hasn't been able to do a great deal yet. Fifth tackle, again, good defending from Halifax. Broncos just making it into the Blue Sox half on this occasion. Pearson, sun in his eyes, picks it out of there easily. And then turns two men inside out. He thought about the pass. Gavin Klings will give it to Gibson. Who's well tackled by Grant Young, 15 metres out. Tuilangi looking for more work. Pushes first man away, pushes second man away, still on his feet. And three men. And finally managed to put Tuilangi down. First touch for Des Clark. ends in a 7-8 metre run. Now Carl Harrison turning back inside into trouble and then turning. Well, it isn't Mercer that's come off, he's still there. Rowlett up from acting half. Plinge using the touch line again and putting it back into the Broncos half of the field. Not surprisingly, Broncos win the scrum. Pat Nowner linking up around the back with the cut-out pass. And Goodwin has to go to a fire this time. And a fire thought about the outside. Then probably realised who was up against in Tuilagi. He put some big hits in with Tuilagi. Broncos still looking for the first score. Goodwin turns it back inside to Matterson. Matterson pops one out the back. Well, that's more like Terry Matterson. Retchless to Ryan. Ryan to a fire, and a fire doesn't know where to go and feels Tuilagi's shoulder. Ball come loose as well. Will it be a knock on? Well, playing out the tackles, but a fire is hurt. Tollett tries the kick, well picked out of the air by Moana. And just as I said, Tuilagi will make the big tackles. He's done it on a fire.
Apprentices, please make their way to the London Broncos office immediately.
Mercer into 3. 4 minutes to go to half-time. Halifax lead 24 points to 0. Marshall. Good tackling from Beasley. Now Harrison. Harrison still going forward. Again, he's getting through that first tackle. Rowlett to Moana. Step from Moana. Still going forward. Power and strength again from the loose forward. Blue Sox back in the Broncos half. Gavin Plinge skip round the first man. Last tackle. Rowlett come back on the Broncos player. Tuilagi put it over the top. Gibson was waiting for it. The ball goes into touch. And the Broncos will get the scrum and the possession. Well, Des Clark replaced Simon Baldwin. I thought the announcer had said Gary Mercer, but Mercer bringing a lot of enthusiasm from Headingley with him, and I think it's rubbing off on one or two of these Halifax players. Although a slip in defence here could allow Timo in on that far side. Support there from Matt Toshak. Toshak bundled into touch. So Halifax just perhaps relaxing a little bit in defence. They had games wrapped up on a few occasions last season, or seemingly at 20 plus points lead, and let it slip against Leeds and against Bradford. The defence there on that occasion. Timo and Toshak combining on that far side, attempting to put the first points on the board for the London Broncos. Two minutes to go in the first half. Scrum breaking up, and a little bit of frustration perhaps in that London pack. Somebody pointing the finger, and Russell Smith said, let's have another go. Well, pulling out Grant Young and Carl Harrison. Big battle between two very big men. And the pack's still not going down, testing Russell Smith's patience. Finally it comes out Halifax's way, and Mercer's taking up the standoff position. Gibson goes from acting half, goes through the Broncos defence. Pat Nowner after Gibson. Gibson turning Fat Downer inside out. It's slowed him down. Support there. Halifax waste possession. The try was on. And a quick counter-attack from the Broncos comes to an end with Matt Toshak being put down 18 metres from halfway. 0 tackle. Broncos have 6 more. They don't now because that ball was lost and it went forward. Big tackling from the Halifax defence. And congratulations all round for Mercer, Harrison and Marshall. Toshak really knocked out of his stride by a thumping tackle from the Blue Sox defence, but they should have had a try on that far side. Gibson turned Fat Downer inside out. Hooter sounds for the end of the first half, and then Halifax Blue Sox jogging into the dressing room, the Broncos walking in, which tells you the story of the first half. And despite defending for the first 13 minutes, which Halifax did with some style, Broncos unable to open that Blue Sox defence. And it took 16 minutes for Halifax on the first attack towards those Broncos posts for Gavin Clinch to score the first of his 2 tries. Pearson converted. 7 minutes later, Moana took over 2 defenders with him. Pearson in front of the post again, another success. And Fat Downer put under pressure and a bit of football skills before Clinch got his 3rd. No problem to Pearson. 10 metres to the right hand side of the post, 18 points to 0. Mercer on 32 minutes, Pearson again with a conversion, and Halifax playing against the sun in the wind in the first half will have it in their favour if the sun comes out in the second half, and I don't think the wind will die. But Halifax well on the way to avenging that Talents Cup defeat here at the Stoke 5 weeks ago, leading at the break quite convincingly, 24 points to 0. Well, Halifax Blue Sox supporters have moved towards the goal on the left-hand side as you look at the screen. And there's not so many of them, but they're making the noise because the London Broncos supporters have nothing to cheer about so far. 24 points to 0 down. Well, Coach Fat Downer is still at fullback, which is rather surprising, especially with Tony Curry being an Australian coach, because they pride themselves on error-free rugby. And Fat Downer, well, he hasn't produced that so far, and he's been put under pressure by the Halifax, or the force of the Halifax attack. But he's come out to resume that position in the second half. Matt Dunford is on for the London Broncos. Short awkward kick. It's Pearson. He's taken easily and turned inside to Des Clark. Well, Russell Smith has clamped down immediately on the holding down for the second half. He's given Halifax the first penalty straight from the kick-off. Very low error count in the first half. Scrums almost level. And penalties going in Halifax's favour. 5-3. Marshall hammered to the ground, 8 metres away from halfway by Matt Dunford. A little bit of help from Grant Young. Up comes Mercer to halfway. Took 3 men to put him down. Gavin Clinch to Moana, and Moana trying to find a way out of that tackle. Well, it's dragged in no fewer than 4 Broncos defenders. And this could be the catalyst for another Halifax attack, as Moana takes the quick return from Paul Rowley. 5th tackle, back to Clinch. Clinch, one in the air, testing Fat Downer again. Fat Downer under pressure, but up to the task this time from the kick from Clinch. But the chase is good from Bouveng and Mercer. And Bouveng had a second go, but I think Halifax players getting in each other's way on that occasion, allowing Toshak a couple of more metres. And Timu almost put down, held by Rowley. Tollett out to Goodwin. Grant Young lobs one over the top, wild one, 2 yards forward. And Terry Matteson tries to haul up a very disappointed Grant Young from the floor. Because Grant Young had seen the error that he'd made. And Halifax will put more pressure on the Broncos line from the scrum. Initially with Dave Bouvenk, now Tuilagi, who has to be taken round the legs. And it's Peter Gill that performs that task. Chester brings in Des Clark. Comes into Grant Young, London Broncos man Mountain. Clinch to Moana. Moana trying to step away. Pressure still on as Rowley goes from acting half. Throws the dummy, then gets it away to Moana. Up to Tuilagi, but he can't keep hold of the possession. Matteson launches one out. Well, that could have been dangerous. Timu brings it away. Well, Halifax might have got another 6 had they been able to react to that a little bit quicker. Because Matteson playing rugby league suicide by his own line. Toshack breaking away, but the defence there and solid for Halifax. Des Clark a fire, trying to go underneath. Marshall all over him. Penalty to a fire. Wow. A fire was getting up onto his feet even after the penalty had been given, and still tried the swan dive. So the favour returned for the Broncos by the Blue Sox. Penalty from on the halfway. Tollett out to Goodwin. Goodwin to Grant Young. Ball comes out of the tackle. Peter Gill goes only one way, but it's not made Broncos any yards because they're still on the halfway. Matt Dunford plays it quickly and then goes down, perhaps pushing for the penalty. Gill gets away. Good ball inside to Timu. Timu has support outside from Matt Toshack, but Toshack's brought down 10 metres away. So the Broncos have seen the urgency of the situation and how soon they need a score, and it could come here, but the cut out pass there not really needed. Broncos keeping it alive. Goodwin to Carroll, one-handed away, Grant Young, sorry. Carroll taking a rest for the Broncos. Well, scrambling defence, but this is more like the Australian style of play. Keeping the ball moving, and Fat Nowner trying to make amends, then throws it back inside. Rowley picks it up for Halifax, race on with Toshack. But Toshack, the centre, dragging Rowley down. Pearson from acting half. Toshack again the tackler. Marshall running off the short ball to Waiting. Dunford and Retchless. Moana. Well, Halifax not setting up the position there, and Moana having to go on his own. Harrison off the inside ball from Rowley. Closely watched by 3 Broncos defenders. So a good 6 as far as the Broncos are concerned, because they've kept Halifax in their own half of the field, but this kick from Clinch could cause problems. Powell after it. Fat Nowner happy, I think, to see it run into touch in front of him. Gary Mercer and Martin Pearson trying to decide who's calling the shots. But that, the closest the Broncos have been for quite some time. 6 minutes gone in the second half. It's the closest they've been to that Halifax line for a long, long time. Simon Baldwin is warming up on the touchline. Mark Carroll and Adi Spencer are waiting as replacements for the Broncos. And the Broncos are back up to the halfway line now. Matteson out to Grant Young, and Grant Young gets it back to Matteson. Mistake made, so Halifax will claim the possession. Well, Tony Curry must have had words with Matteson at half-time, because he's become a little bit more involved in the opening minutes of this second half. But Grant Young, perhaps the pick of the London players so far,
Substitution for the London Broncos,
because he's managing to release the ball from the tackle, and now Butch McNaughton's off to be replaced by Adi Spencer. Mercer's taken up that standoff position again. Pearson away from 2 and off towards that Broncos line, and looking round, it just needed somebody behind him. Blue Sox support was just a little bit too far away. Mercer making sure he keeps hold of the ball. Rowley, short ball off to Harrison, and Rowley going for the return, but Peter Gill cutting out that option by moving forward between the two Blue Sox players. Plinge, well done with the long one, and give it short to Marshall, and Marshall felt the full weight of Retzler and Matteson, and a big tackle now. Des Clark against Gill, ball comes loose though, so Halifax spill up possession. Third handling error for them in this game. Toshak, and suddenly the Broncos are making a few more yards in defence. Here goes in attack, here goes Gill up towards halfway. Chester pushing his luck and getting away with it. Matteson on that far side. The Blue Sox will have to keep a close eye on him. One or two of the Broncos supporters complaining about the tackles from the Halifax players. There goes Spencer, supported well by Grant Young. A fire look round for somebody to pass to. Pearson was all over him, but he got it away to Goodwin. Now Timu to Toshak, back to Timu. Timu against Dio Powell, and Powell throws Timu to the floor. Last tackle. Broncos perhaps will go for the power play with Dunford. Long pass from Dunford. Tuilangi picking that one out of the air. Tuilangi against a fire, and a fire not renowned for his tackling, especially against Tuilangi. Support from Gibson. Gibson towards the corner, 2 men in pursuit. Halifax, 80-metre try from Tuilangi's burst when he shrugged away a fire. That try was always on Gibson in support. Tuilangi the first man there to congratulate Gibson, because he'd followed him all the way with the 2 Broncos defenders in pursuit. Gibson had the pace to go into the corner and extend the lead to 26 points to 0. For anybody that would like to point that out during the week. But a fire was left for dead when Tuilangi shrugged him off. He's beat him in attack just as he laid him out in defence in the first half, and the try was always on. The pace from Gibson. 2 Broncos defenders chasing after Gibson straight down the touchline and tried to make the kick a little easier for Pearson. 4 successes already in the first half. This one to take his personal tally into double figures. Halifax supporters at the back of the post already cheering before the ball went over.
London goes off number 20, Matt Dunford. On number 10, Mark Carroll.
Well, it was a short stay for Matt Dunford, because Mark Carroll's back on. And Carroll did a lot of damage when he came on in that second half of that Challenge Cup tie. Although the Broncos weren't 30 points behind. But John Pendlebury, new signings come to the fore, and Halifax are welded together a lot better than the London Broncos. Harrison all over a fire, one-on-one, just knocking the possession. Well, That'll be one of the few times perhaps that Carl Harrison's caught Martin afire. But just, he wrestled the ball from his grasp, but just knocked it on in doing so. But such is the determination of this Halifax side, that they're now playing for everything. Goodwin brought down by Clark. 8 metres from halfway. Here comes Mark Carroll. And Carroll takes the Blue Sox back into Halifax territory. And Carl Harrison immediately penalised for holding down Mark Carroll. And so Matterson, if it should be him that's kicking, will put the Broncos near that Halifax line. Still a long time to go. 27 minutes in fact. But Halifax with a healthy lead at the moment. And the Broncos with one of the few chances to eat into that lead. Rexler's turned upside down by Clark. So that will be another penalty to the Broncos. Nothing malicious, just the way Clark had turned over Rexler in the tackle. And the 2 points, no good, so the Broncos will run it. Grant Young takes the Broncos to within 2 metres of the Halifax try line. Tollett, men out wide here for the Broncos. Spencer goes on his own and he's hammered to the ground 10 metres out. Gill. Well, mistake there, bigger mistake from Ryan. We'll give Halifax back the possession. Matt Toshak had gone on the inside run, and Peter Gill trying to get the ball away to Ryan in despair rather than any plan. Ryan not expecting it, perhaps expecting that Toshak should have got the original pass. And the mistake from the Broncos, and a mistake from Beasley. The striking at the ball gives Halifax another penalty. And Pearson strokes that one into touch, takes the Blue Sox 30 metres away from their own line. Des Clark taking it up into the waiting arms of Mark Carroll. 5 metres from halfway, Carl Harrison hit by Grant Young. Well, fair old tussle between those two this afternoon. Mercer, well tackled by Rexler. Rexler not in a rush to get up. Gavin Clinch out to Gillespie. Well, looks suspiciously high. There'll be another penalty because Gillespie has lost his shirt. Well, the Broncos becoming a frustrated outfit, despite the fact that Halifax have conceded a couple of penalties. Tony Kerry has not managed to bring the Broncos round from that defeat in the Challenge Cup semi-final last week. And John Pendlebury, I'm sure, up to now, will be a more than satisfied coach, expecting the Broncos to be coming out firing on all cylinders after that disappointing exit last week. Well, the Broncos, as yet, haven't even got out of second gear. Halifax with Pearson and the attempted goal meanwhile. They're cruising in the fast lane of this, the first round of Super League 3. Tough opener for Halifax, but it's made easier by those 30 points without reply. Pearson from in front of the post, and again the Halifax supporters were cheering before the ball had got anywhere near the post, as Pearson
London Broncos 0, Halifax 32.
Gets another 2 points, his 12th of the afternoon, and Halifax lead by 32 points to 0. And that just shows you, with a win at the backs in the second half, Pearson making it to the Broncos try line with the kick. Uphill struggle for the Broncos, Halifax sticking to the task in defence. Still going forward, Mark Carroll again asking of the Halifax defence with another strong run now. Matterson up towards halfway. Matterson looking to Smith for a decision. Spencer out to Timu. Manages to get it away, but no luck again for Toshak. Desperation and panic creeping into the Broncos side now. Timu in a rush to get the ball away, but no advantage coming again as they spill the possession over. Mercer off the short ball into Grant Young, and then away Mercer. Good play, looks to get the arm loose. Mark Carroll it was who went over the top on Mercer. Mercer's not happy. He didn't make the connection, but Mercer obviously felt the draft of Mark Carroll's swinging arm. So another penalty for Halifax. Broncos are losing the plot here. Dio Powell doing a bit of the running. Halifax on the attack again. Clinch to Harrison, return to Clinch, and now to Ilange. He's not allowed any room this time. Chris Ryan moving up quickly. Mercer again. This time put to ground. Halifax not making many metres. Tuilangi shrugs off the first tackler. Still going forward is Tuilangi, still trying to brush off the Broncos defenders. Gavin Clinch, chip over the top, taken out by Carroll with the shoulder. What will Russell Smith see of this one? Well, it's going to be a penalty. No doubt about that one, as Carroll went for Clinch after the kick was made. No complaints from the Halifax supporters, when you'd normally expect them to go for the tries, as Pearson lines up a possible 7th successful conversion. Over halfway in the second 40 minutes at the Stoop. And Pearson to extend Halifax's lead to 34 points to 0. And his own haul of points to 14. Well, he does miss them sometimes then. Short one up in the missed box for Martin Pearson. But Halifax still with that 32-point cushion. And back with the possession, because Pearson had kicked it dead, and he picks it up and takes it back over halfway for the Blue Sox. Rowley looking for runners. Howell did well to keep hold of that, because Rowley, I don't think had seen him go on that arcing run to the opposite side. Harrison, good tackling by Gill. Round the ankles of the Halifax prop. Chester switching play. Clinch going inside. Had runners. Halifax organising again. Mercer down on one knee. Good tackle in there from Matterson. Quick off the mark at the play of the ball. last tackle. Plinch with a drop goal. Well, it's come off the post. The drop goal attempt. Broncos have to bring it away. Rowley and Baldwin making the tackle on an unhappy John Timu. And not Luke Goodwin, who's still continuing the argument with Rowley while play continues. The touch judge on the field, but here's a chance for the Broncos. Breaking away, Chris Ryan. Great running from Ryan from his own line. Here comes a fire. He won't make as many yards because the Blue Sox defenders are back in position now. Mark Carroll to Grant Young, and Young standing up again, then loses the possession. Well, he's taken that risk all afternoon as Gillespie comes away from one. Well, Grant Young has made available all afternoon in one hand, or all this second half in one hand. He didn't come off that time. And Harrison takes a breather to be replaced by Kelvin Skerritt, perhaps for the last 18 minutes. And Halifax just making a mistake. That ball going forward. Tollett with the scrum win for the Broncos. Timu. Signed for the London Broncos from the Canterbury Bulldogs for his defence. Well, the Broncos' defence this afternoon being nothing to write home about. The chance here in attack with Goodwin, but Mercer tracks him down. Broncos still on a roll. And Luke Goodwin must have had something in his half-time drink because he wants to take everybody on. And Dio Powell could have had a try there, but that one just escaping the clutches of the Halifax winger. "15 minutes to go. And from the sounds of the Halifax supporters, there are one or two London Broncos supporters who are not going to see the last 15 of this game. Spencer to Ryan, and a try for Chris Ryan. Well, Ryan probably deserved that after saving the Broncos line earlier on. But it's taken 66 minutes for the Broncos to breach the Halifax defensive line. And it was by Chris Ryan who saved the Broncos line not 5 minutes ago with a 50-metre run.
Try for London Broncos, scored by number 3, Chris Ryan. London, let me hear you say yeah!
Well, I'm afraid if London Broncos play as they have done so far, that may be just a consolation try possibly. For the first 66 minutes, or all bar 13, London Broncos have looked like an inferior side, which Tony Curry has failed to gel together so far. Matterson adds on the 2 to make the score 32 points to 6.
Conversion for London, number 13, Terry Matterson. London Broncos 6, Halifax Blue Sox 32.
Plinch underneath the kick, gives it inside to Gillespie.
Substitution for London, number 17, Matt Salter. On for number 26, Robbie Beasley.
The screaming frontman trying to get the Broncos supporters going. There's one or two at the front of me that's been shouting Crusaders earlier on. But Broncos coach Tony Curry seemed to think that they might be in the grand final in September at Old Trafford. Well, They may be, but at the moment they're not going to do it at Halifax's expense for certain. Rowley to Baldwin. Baldwin, long pass over the top, which is picked up by Tuilagi. A fire puts him down. Tuilagi will get up and have another go. But referee Russell Smith has said Tuilagi was tackled. Well, I'm not sure about that. It'll need a look at the replay, but the Broncos will get the penalty. Tuilagi retrieves his boot. The Broncos will get another crack at the Halifax line. Time running out, 12 minutes to go. As Tollett's hammered to the ground, 25 metres out from the Blue Sox try line. Matterson in at acting half. Spencer to Matt Salter, who had a bit of an impact when he came on in that Challenge Cup tie. Now Mark Carroll, who wasn't in his stride because he'd almost tripped himself up when he took the pass then. Goodwin, great pass at drop-off ball to Higgins. Well, Goodwin showing some of the skills now, but I think Tony Curry might have wanted him to show those skills a lot earlier. Tullett 5 metres away from Halifax line. Fifth tackle. And Broncos will go for the power play with Gill, but the pass is forward. Broncos supporters cheering. A bit prematurely, because Russell Smith had already signalled the pass forward before Toshack had received it. So the Blue Sox line stays intact for now. Kelvin Skerritt doing a bit of hard work up the middle. Kieran O'Loughlin on. Completed his move to Halifax after a loan period this week from St Helens. Rowley to Clinch. Clinch with a long kick down towards Luke Goodwin, who's dropped to the full-back position. Has played there for Oldham, but not going anywhere while he's in the reach of Tuilagi. Hammered to the ground. Now a fire. And a fire going backwards, then sideways. Now he's straightening up, but he's not going anywhere because the ankle tap from Gillespie did enough for former Wigan teammate Skerritt to bring him down. Timu looking for the speculative pass again, thinking the better of it this time because he lost the possession last time. And here comes Mark Carroll. Storming run down the middle of the field from the Broncos prop. And Broncos with a bit of a roll on. Grant Young going the dummy and turning back inside. Biggest man on the field, put down by the smallest, Gavin Clint. Broncos still going forward though. Gill to Tullett. Timu. There's a run to the line there for Timu. Timu brought down a metre away, fifth tackle. Halifax needed to organise in defence because there's lots of Broncos players on that far side of the field. And it's picked up behind his own line by Damien Gibson. And Gibson does well to make 12 metres away from the Blue Sox line. 6 tackles to go. Pearson going on his own. Gill misses him. Now a race between Gill and Pearson, but Pearson had been slowed down. Baldwin moving into the half-back position. Gillespie off the short ball. Good tackle, but gets it away to O'Loughlin. And O'Loughlin all wrapped up by Tulson Tollett. Now Rowley, who hasn't had his normal impact, has been a bit restricted with his runs this afternoon as Paul Rowley. Clinch again with that kick, this time down behind a fire. Not sure if that's the one he wanted. Just put the ball into touch on the far side and put the Broncos back in their half of the field. Richard Marshall waits on the touch line. Not for long though, because he's on into the action to replace Des Clark.
Halifax substitution. Number 17, Richard Marshall on. For number
Broncos
10,
with a possession from the scrum. Long passing out to Timu. Timu looks inside, the support there from Toshack. But marked very closely by Chester. Salter. Big tackle by Carl Gillespie, just short of halfway. Matterson to Matt Toshak. Spencer looking for the long ball out to Higgins. Higgins and Grant Young turning up in the centre position. And he's probably been the pick of the Broncos players this afternoon. As Grant Young, because he's worked hard both in attack and defence. Unfortunately, he hasn't got 16 teammates that have done the same thing. Crossfield kick, easy for Gibson. Step from Gibson, inside two, great play from Damien Gibson, and brought down on the 20. But confidence there from the Halifax number one, playing in the centre position, to Ilange, to Powell. Powell opening up down the middle of the field and making 15 metres, good combination between both Halifax wingers. Plinch has men outside him, one of them's Gillespie. Gillespie brings Boven on the inside, and it's Grant Young again there for the London Broncos. That's a penalty. Well, Grant Young was looking his ticket really, because he was at the other side of the field running the ball up, and then he turns up on this side in defence. Massive work rate from the giant prop. But Halifax with the penalty and another chance to increase the lead with just 6 minutes to go. 32 points to 6. And confidence was running high between both players and supporters. Halifax would win this game. But they probably couldn't expect for 1 minute that this would be the margin of score at this stage of the game. Skerritt tries to wrestle off the Broncos defenders. 10 metres away. Marshall, just a little knock on from Rowley. Only a small one, but Russell Smith on the spot. Well, the furthest Halifax will travel this season is the Stoop. And with 5 minutes to go, 32 points to 6. It looks as though there'll be a lot more happier people travelling up the M1 than there were 5 weeks ago. Even though there aren't as many Halifax supporters here this afternoon, I don't think. There'll be a lot more back in Halifax. We wished they were here on this performance, because Halifax still showing the determination in defence. Higgins, short ball to Salter, big hit from Marshall. Salter managed to get the pass away. Mark Carroll bundled to the ground by Rowley and O'Loughlin. Matterson turns it inside to Timu. Timu gets it away to Tollett. Quick hands to that far side of the fielding. Higgins linking up now out to Afire. Afire against Gibson. But Afire snuffed out again. That danger, well, what would have normally been a danger hasn't come from Martin Afire this afternoon. Mark Carroll going forward, pops one up in the air. Could go anywhere. Well, touch judge just said play on. Referee Russell Smith going the wrong way. Obviously thought London had the possession. But Carroll trying to get it away on the last tackle. Unsuccessfully. At this stage of the game, willing to try anything. Gavin Clinch almost making the break. Gillespie screaming up outside him for the pass. A bit of attention there from Gavin Clinch for Mark Carroll. Touch of cramp. Well, I don't think if I had, how bad I had cramp, I'd want Mark Carroll pressing on the top of my leg. I'm pressing my leg down, but just trying to give Halifax scrum half a helping hand. Skerritt gets up, loses it, but backwards. Pearson stepping, still stepping, going forward. Good ball back inside to Dio Powell. Powell brushes Tollett away then sets off forward and makes 5 or 6 metres. 5th tackle, back to Pearson. Pearson with a drop goal attempt. Looks about 3 or 4 yards wide to the right-hand side of the post.
London Broncos man of the match, as chosen by the McCarthy Corporation, is London Bronco number 4, Matt Toshak.
Well, a few moans and groans there, because the sponsors man of the match for the London Broncos, they picked Matt Toshak out. And this is in with the ball now. Well, perhaps a sponsor knows a little bit more about rugby union than they do about league, because Grantian would have been high up on the list for that accolade as far as the London Broncos are concerned. And for the Halifax Blue Sox, an all-round team effort which has paid dividends, and the intensity of Halifax tackling continues right up to the last minute with Gillespie and Skerritt. Chip over the top, easily taken by Powell, and Powell wrapped up by Toshak. 20 metres out, Pearson to O'Loughlin, pirouetting but not getting anywhere. Drag 3 tacklers in. Last minute, 32 points to 6. And Chester takes one round the head. Well, he was in the hospital until for a good hour after this game last time Halifax played here. Fortunately, he's got up this time, and Halifax have got another penalty. Pearson launches it down that far touchline, and the 40 minutes are up on the clock. Halifax had already set the platform in the first half for this win at the London Broncos. They were 24 points to nil in the lead at half-time. Another penalty. Well, just silly little things now from the Broncos. Gavin Clint wants to get on with it. The 80 minutes are up. Martin Pearson picks the ball up and plays it to himself, and looked as though he might have dropped it at one point. He does now, but it's gone backwards. Simon Baldwin away from 2, still shrugging players off. Hooter sound. Halifax victorious in the first round of Super League 3. Not a score I don't think many people would have predicted. They expected Halifax win, the supporters and the players, because they've been warming up for this since they lost 5 weeks ago in controversial circumstances. Just one try for Halifax to add to that half-time score from Damien Gibson, but it was a peach of a try that ended after he had combined with Tuilagi over 80 and 90 metres. Pearson put over the conversion and the penalty, and missed a penalty after that, but he's helped himself to 12 points of Halifax's final score. Chris Ryan was the man that saved Halifax Broncos line at one end, and a couple of minutes later went over for the Broncos for their only try of the afternoon. Matterson converted, but after a shaky start for Halifax for the first 13 minutes, it was really all one-way traffic, and Tony Kerry has an awful lot to do to bring the London Broncos round. And it'll be easier for John Pendlebury in training this week with his players on a high, I'm sure, after coming down the M1 to the capital to beat the London Broncos at the Stoop in the end quite convincingly by 32 points to 6.